Hey guys, Rinji here, and there has been Twitter troubles again, of the horror kind, this time around, and how fitting it is for the month of October, which is about to end, that we discuss a very niche indie horror game and the reaction some people had to it, and the discussion that it sparked on Twitter. And since it's Twitter, you can probably predict it's gonna be a very intellectual discussion. It's gonna be very level-headed, and people aren't gonna jump at each other because of fictional themes in a very small video game. Well, if that's your hopes, then you'll be pretty disappointed because it's an S show, as they say on YouTube nowadays, because certain words get you automatically demonetized. Doesn't matter if you use them later in the video or at the beginning of the video. These new rules are new rules, so you have to abide by them. Play their game. And speaking of playing games, let's take a look at the discussion at hand here. So graphic violence is okay in horror games, but people draw the line at questionable relationships in a horror game? It's horror. And as you can probably guess, this particular Twitter post got these sorts of replies. Are horror games romanticizing the graphic violence the way this game romanticizes this? I don't believe I can say that word, so I'll just say interbreeding instead of that one. It's so clearly that the writers barely disguised fetish situation. Jesus Christ. Well, you know, anything can be subject of fiction. It doesn't matter what it is. And saying it glorifies, romanticizes something is just pretty much buzzwords nowadays. Because no sane person thinks that this is what fiction is supposed to do. And that's pretty much not the intent of the author. But let's take a look at more comments. It's not that it's horror, it's that they are effing brother and sister. It's not questionable, it's downright degenerative. Oh no, how can this be? Brother and sister interbreeding in my horror video game? It's more likely than you think. Why are people defending the interbreeding game on my TL? You could probably smell the goon cave from the outside. Oh yes, it's porn addicts again that are defending games like this, that are defending the right to people to express themselves in fiction whichever the way they want. Everything is a buzzword nowadays. It was Kumers before, now it's Gunners. Zoomers invent these dumb words and exchange them with other dumb words like gloves. Let's continue. I can smell your foul stench through my damn phone. It's interbreeding. Shut up, bro. There's a hopefully obvious difference between interbreeding and graphic violence, Rida. In fiction, what does it matter? Might as well be no difference when it comes to fiction. The person draws interbreeding porn, by the way. I'm sorry, but this tweet has some urban spook stank on it. As what? What the hell does that even mean, though? I just think it's okay for some folks to be uncomfy with certain concept in horror. I'm a gorehound by myself, but I think folks' main issue with is that it's more fetishy than scary instead of, oh my god, how effed up. It's more like, it's isn't it this so hot territory? The game shames the interbreeding many times and shown just as toxic as every single thing these two have on their relationship. I don't know how it is fetishy when you need to take a specific A route and a signal dialogue sends you off that road. Interbreeding is not scary, it's just disgusting. It has no place in a horror game. Nasty. Okay, this is going to sound awful of me on the surface, but hear me out. Romanticizing interbreeding is badass. Using horror to explain the awfulness of interbreeding could be good, much like how the original novel of Lita has been described as horror due to its centered of P-word. And this is the kind of reply they got. N-word if you don't unfollow me right now. And this post has violated X's rules on the hateful content. Jesus Christ, what kind of reply is that? But to you know, to get into the discussion of horror just a little bit before continuing on. There's all types of horror out there. It's not just supposed to be scary. It's supposed to disturb you, and how you're disturbed, it depends on your sensitivities and your sensibilities. Some people may be disgusted by body horror, for example. There's a lot of those pieces of art in Japanese culture, for example. They do a lot of body horror stuff within their own horror industry. There's psychological horror, some aspects of people's psychology, some disturbing facts from their past, traumas. These can be contributed to horror as well. It all depends on the person who's being subject to that sort of thing. It's all very subjective when it comes to horror. And there isn't a thing that doesn't belong in horror as long as it's disturbing to somebody. That's why fiction is so fun. You can explore anything in it, and you can invoke all kinds of reactions, all kinds of emotional reactions within people. That's why there shouldn't be any limits when it comes to fiction. Well, let's continue, because this word down there has been too long on the screen. I keep seeing this response. I don't think interbreeding is scary. It is weird, but like not truly disturbing. Just gross. Not if they're obsessed with each other. I can definitely see that as a horror aspect. Once again, anything can be disturbing. It all depends on the person. Just because it isn't scary or disturbing to you or something doesn't mean it's not disturbing to somebody else. And considering the reaction of people being grossed out by this, I say the author of the game, the creator of the game, has pretty good success in invoking these feelings within you. So he's being successful that way. Let's continue. Can we talk about how everyone hypes a franchise where there's a constant of child death, child abuse, and child torture? Self-strapped forever. And they freak out over a game using interbreeding as a narrative point of two people the game celebrates over their death? Five Nights at Freddy's, of course. The weirdly popular horror series among children, which I don't understand. People groomed by Tumblr in their younger years have some problems to sort out. Yeah, because children getting murdered forever trapped in suits is scary. Tell me what's scary about the brother and sister having weird relationship. Psychological horror, if it isn't particularly scary, neither is anything FNAF past the first. I just feel like there's way better ways to display that side of horror, that's all. You can always have jump scares, games with interesting lore without having them being about killing children. Neither of them are something you should feel comfortable with. Doesn't mean those aspects should be out of the realm of touching within media if they aren't trying to be harmful. Yeah, but children getting killed is the whole reason the event in FNAF happened. But what does a brother and sister being in a relationship add to the overall plot? Well, it adds to the disturbance factor, because if you don't know what the Coffin of Andy and Leyley is about, I should have said that at the beginning of the video. It's about two very disturbed siblings in a very, very toxic and codependent relationship, and they spend time with one another trying to screw each other over. At one point during an optional ending that kind of becomes almost literal, as an interbreeding scene is implied in there. There's plenty of dark and horrific themes being explored there, including the desecration of corpses, cannibalism, murder, what have you. The game has a lot of themes to explore. You should probably play it on your own if you're a fan of those kinds of stories being told, especially by an indie creator. There's a lot of those that gain popularity in recent years. But let's continue. It's a culmination of the brothers showing their absolute lack of sense of morality, with not even having boundaries on the aspects that they're blood related. It's the culmination of their codependency and how horrible they are. The other route shows the same but on backwards. That's why the game splits onto two routes at the point of the story. On where the man starts to become more distant and cold, and the other where they become so close they lose sight of the fact that you're blood related. Which, by the way, the scene of sex is a vision they have. Are you defending interbreeding right now? The game shames that stuff, doesn't it? I don't think games with dark and disgusting themes are trying to fetishize it or anything. As long as the game makes it very clear that even / or whatever it's effed up shouldn't be done. I think it's okay. I don't know, man. Interbreeding is still gross and yucky. Plus, OP should have said they weren't trying to defend the game's yuckiness in the replies at least. Obviously it's gross, but I'm just saying horror should be allowed to explore dark topics as long as it's with respect and doesn't glorify it or anything that all. And I don't agree with that either. There's a lot of horror fiction and all kinds, even interactive horror fiction, let's say horror games that don't portray the acts of killing in a negative light. Because, you know, people have this magical ability to distinguish what's real and what's not. Sometimes people want to see those effed up characters doing effed up things to one another and other people. Because exploration of that makes you explore yourself deep within. Not sound that philosophical, but that's pretty much what it does, at least to me. When it comes to certain uncomfortable things, even I would have drawn the line. Like, I don't want to see that. I think it has all the right to exist, but I don't want to engage in consuming that kind of content. But still, I think all of that in fiction has a right to exist. And saying it glorifies, fetishizes, what have you, normalizes, because that's also the expression I like to use when it comes to that sort of thing. It's completely false, and you're completely missing the intent of the author when it comes to things like this. Most of these people that make comments like this have never bothered to ask the original creator what their vision for that particular work is. They just assume that someone is evil and bad and yucky with these, you know, with these arguments like here in this screenshot. A minor is engaging in a discussion about interbreeding and horror. Kid, this is not for you. You shouldn't be part of this discussion. I don't know, go do your homework or something. You shouldn't be on the internet taunting your flags and saying to everybody, hey, I'm minor. Hey, I'm a minor. My opinion is important because I have all the life experience to make choices for myself and make choices for you as well. It's also tiresome, dear viewers. It's also tiresome. But let's continue. Horror is supposed to be scary. Interbreeding isn't scary. It's gross and uncomfortable. Also some people's fetish, but it's not scary. You have to be really good at writing if you want to show it in a negative light and not make people think it's your fetish. Who cares if it's this author's particular fetish even? What does that matter? Do you people seriously believe that, yeah, this guy likes cannibalism? I bet he goes out and kills people, hacks them up, and then serves them up with red wine or something, and fries. I don't think that's the case. In most instances, at least. Let's continue. Yeah, but there's subsets of people who actually enjoy the interbreeding part. Yes, alright, there's sets of people who enjoy violence too. But there's a yucky groups who really like interbreeding. And there's also groups that get off from gore F. I'm digging my own grave. Oh, you poor soul, you're you're setting up other people's opinions of you just because you stated your own opinion. Yeah, you're gonna be eaten up by the same people that think in the ways you do. Let's move on. When I play a horror game, I expect it to be scary and tense, not effing weird interbreeding s. Shut the F up. What kind of pro ship A take is this? I want to throw a really large brick at your head. Yeah, that's normal. calling for violence because of someone's opinion on a horror video game. Except it's not horrifying, Jack A. It's disgusting. Get help. And this one gets me, especially since this person has a Revi avatar, and all of their interactions on Twitter are all about Revi. You know, this hardcore do not give a damn character that just shoots at people. Game is about having sex with your siblings, a literal modern little crime in some areas. Comment spew based. This is a quote tweet on an article about this particular game and this outer's reaction to it, which we'll get to as well. This is like if a game promoting P word or Z word would do the same. I bet Fers would still churn based because of cry about it meme. I'm not even gonna touch the fact that the game overwhelmingly fetishizes and glorifies not only interbreeding but cannibalism. Well, Mr. Lex here, I think you're kind of bitch made for having Revi in your avatar. I think you should remove it, replace it with some My Little Pony or something that would be more befitting. What a disappointment. And this one is also pretty fantastic. Here's the question for all people calling this game and its death based for owning the woke left and their political correctness by having romanticized depictions of interbreeding in their S game. Would you still shield for the game if Leyley was a child and Andrew an adult? Same flirty dialogue, same sexualized depictions of them together, so same interbreeding route. But now you also have a romanticization of P word and not just interbreeding in the game. I bet all of you would be a lot less comfortable shitting for a game like that. It's not about whether having depictions of evil acts in a story is fine or not. It is completely fine, but what you can never do is romanticize these acts. These people clearly have completely different standards when it comes to interbreeding compared to P word. Seeing as one fine or even hot and the other as evil, therefore making them immoral, therefore making them evil. I say all of you are cancer to society. Oh, thank you, Donut Jump. Thank you for your insight into people's psyches. Once again, everything is welcome in fiction. These notions of fetishization, normalization, whatever, they aren't real. You have to have evidence for that. And there's no evidence. There's contrary evidence to what you're saying. This is all your dumb assumptions because you can do that on the internet, and very few people will take you up on that. They will go after you only if you have the wrong opinion that's contrary to the mainstream. That's how it works. And you can say all kinds of dumb stuff online, and there will always be someone, even one person, that agrees with you. It's just like that. Let's move on. The fact that in 2023 such blatantly degenerate stuff is just allowed to become popular is genuinely repulsive. People who defend this should be on a register. There's a lot of flags, and that one particular Christian symbol tells me a lot why this person is having an opinion like that. Oh, moral panic about fiction never grows old, is never out of fashion, it seems. If you think this is based like some people in the replies, please do see it, doctor. And you probably wonder how this game is doing on Steam. Well, it's doing very well. This is as of today, with 98% of positive reviews, with an overwhelmingly positive score, with 1,760 reviews, which to me, just by guesstimating, means that the game probably sold well over 10k copies, because you have to consider that most people do not leave reviews. This is just the minority there. But an easy estimate that it easily sold like over 10 copies at least. Over 10k copies, sorry. Probably a lot more. Should ask the dev Leyley about it at some point because I'm really interested how it goes. And this game has been getting a lot of traction. A lot of popular creators have been playing it, especially VTubers, which are my ballpark, of course. And it seems the game is growing popular according to the Steam charts, as it's getting more and more noticed by a lot of people. And of course, the Steam discussions also have this type of content here. No interbreeding, y'all seriously weird for actively wanting them to F. Does this game actually have interbreeding type stuff? Game looks amazing, but I really don't want any of that stuff. Are people just having weird fantasies? And this is the Steam charts. As you can see, there's a growing tendency here with more and more players tuning in. Almost 700 players at peak, and it seems it won't stop. Games like this usually have cult followings, and I think for as young as this game is, it's just gonna be growing bigger because people are interested in disturbing stuff like this that, you know, breaks all taboos and boundaries here and there. So we'll have to wait and see where this goes. But I'm assuming and I'm hoping that the game is gonna be quite a lot more popular in a few months. And lastly, to end this video off, the developer of the game, Leyley, has kind of predicted the reaction that I read throughout this whole video about this game at least like half a year ago in a development blog post. So let me read that. If the discussion section is anything to go by, you're not here for the puzzles anyway. You probably want updates on what kind of routes the game has to offer. I want to spoil it so much. I want to tell you what kind of endings they are, but I cannot. You must find out for yourselves when the game is out. I do believe you like the variety of the outcomes. Though some of you will intensely despise them. And cry about it. More developers should have reactions like this to, you know, the busybodies online. Make what you want. Create all kinds of fiction. Even this kind of fiction. Break your boundaries. Break people's boundaries when it comes to what's comfortable and what's not. When it comes to them engaging that sort of stuff. Maybe they will grow a thicker skin. Maybe their spine will straighten up and become more calcified. Well, we'll have to wait and see. It'll be quite the crap show. I'm sure. Look forward to it. And yeah, I hope the Coffin of Andy and Leyley does a little better than it's doing right now. And considering what kind of creators have been jumping on board this sort of stuff, I'm quite sure the horror fanatics or people just enjoying really weird games that break taboos are gonna be all in on this one. And the art style is also really, really cute. People will probably enjoy that just for the art style aesthetics alone. Yeah, for right now, this is everything on this spooky video. I hope to see you on the next one.